your original. Okay, I was getting it poorly. I'm just already writing on it. This personal policy you want. No.
Okay, we're back in open session. Do we want to move on with the visioning process, or do we want to skip over to the interim manager discussion, and come back to visioning later? Y'all tell me what y'all's want to do. You have, can we jump around like that, or we got to stay on track?
Oh, the agenda belongs to the board. Once you walk in these doors, you can do with it as you please.
Thank you. We've actually got it continuing on down here past that anyway, on F. So
we're still in the middle of visiting, aren't we?
yeah, but see, I see it now. That shows you how much I might can hear better than I can read.
I may have been being too optimistic.
Okay. So what does the board desire?
I'd say let's take up the interim manager.
Everybody okay with it?
What do you need, a motion to?
No, I don't think so. Oh. I see where
Yes,
it's at.
if that is your intent to make an offer to someone, then a motion, and then it can be discussed. Or if somebody prefers discussion first.
Basically, are we going to put a motion or make a motion to send an offer and then we need to know yay or nay by next Thursday?
I think we need to. Yes, if not before. Yeah.
Maybe before we get into that, I would say that for the public at large, at least kind of summarize, where we are in the sense that we received the resignation from Daniel Cobb, and we put in feelers through several sources, through council, through staff, through the same firm that's going to help us find a replacement for Daniel Cobb and help me with some others, but
Yep.
But that's been the extent of our search to get where we are now. But based on the people that are available and those that we've interviewed, I think this council is ready to make a decision on an interim manager. That's for all the closed sessions that we've had to have had because it is a personnel matter. But that's where we find ourselves. So that's why I encourage that we go ahead and address this matter now and then continue on our visioning.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to ask for one of those folks to go into contract with us to fill this interim position till we can hire our new manager in the future with a little overlap at that point.
So this motion would be for the selection of the individual, not so much the details of a contract.
Exactly.
That would be forthcoming at a later action by this board.
That's kind of how I was thinking it needed to be with the provision of the cell phone, which could be dealt with internally as long as the board's okay with that we've got an extra cell phone.
As soon as possible. You might, maybe just as a suggestion, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but appoint the individual you have in mind with the contract date to start as soon as possible. The contract can be negotiated and finalized at the next available council meeting or something to that effect. You've already reviewed the contract.
Sure.
I think with dates changing a little bit, it might be wise to just make sure everything's still good.
Everybody okay with that?
Okay.
That seems to make sense, yes.
Yeah.
My only concern is why are we doing then as soon as possible? Let's present a date. Okay.
Until we speak with them.
I mean, we're only talking about next Thursday at worst.
Yeah, I just don't want it to go to next Thursday and then have to re-vote on it and then it be,
No, it wouldn't require another.
No, another vote, no. Because we're voting today to, if, he would just have to accept it, sign the contract.
If you're comfortable with the contract, you can make a motion to extend the offer based on the terms he presented and authorize the mayor to sign it and accept any start date term negotiation for you.
Okay.
And then it would just be done.
That motion.
Oh,
I'm making that motion.
that motion again.
So, we've potentially got a first being written over there for us with some,
The motion.
yes,
Accept the contract for Shannon Baldwin as our interim town manager, the contract that he proposed to us. With flexibility to start date that Shannon, Mayor Baldwin can negotiate with them. Mayor Baldwin can sign.
Except it's Mayor Collins.
Yeah.
Mayor Baldwin, sorry. Too many Shannons now.
exactly.
Seriously. Basically, yes, you're accepting the basically, yes, you're accepting the contract, giving your mayor the authority to sign and to negotiate the start date.
With one provision that he's allowed to use the extra cell phone. And then it should be, we shouldn't have to talk about it no more. If that's okay. Okay, Shay's got a motion. Need a second.
I'll second so we can discuss it.
That's right. All right. Any discussion?
can we add to that, that we give you the authority to sign or negotiate that up until the 14th?
That would be the,
That way it's-
yeah.
It's not in limbo through next meeting.
Does that make?
He doesn't have to be here, he just has to tell you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Are you suggesting that if he's not able to negotiate a date that you know the board would be comfortable with, it would have to come back?
That's where I think we're going with this.
You'd have to ask the motion maker.
Yeah.
And so then, yes, exactly, that's my Shay, if it's okay to amend her motion.
So I've got a first, second. We're still doing discussion. Any discussion?
I just think folks should know that the candidate, we're talking about the names we mentioned, but Shannon Baldwin comes to us with 25, 30 years of
Oh, I filled that in.
town manager experience in places like Banner Elk and Lake Lure and Easley, South Carolina. And, but that's who we're discussing, and it seems to be that's who we're going to extend an offer to.
I wish we would have had more time to know, to look for candidates to apply for this.
Mhm.
And that there would have been more time for us to have conversations with them.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Any other discussion? Got a first, second, no other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Yep, I did a second.
I made a mistake.
Yeah, thank you.
Make sure I get a copy of that so if me or Daniel reach out to him after a while that we'll know what that date is, the 14th, right? Just for the next meeting. Okay.
Or sooner.
Or sooner. Okay. Yeah, immediately, I would think.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, when everybody gets caught up, we'll go back into our vision and process for 24, 25.
Will staff reach out to the candidates that weren't selected to let them know?
Yeah, I do.
Good idea. Good idea.
Okay, we all good? We'll pick back up on the personnel manual. We've only got a few pages left. Let's see. The next significant change to the manual I want to address is on page 30 on line 165. And that is extended leave without pay. Um,
I'm hearing worse since lunch.
Bear with me one moment. I'm just trying to confirm. Okay. So the first section of this, beginning on line 1066, is not new. That is something that's been on the books for several years. There is one reference to the next section that was added to there. The next new section is section 22 on line 1075, and that is parental leave. And this would provide for up to 4 weeks of paid parental leave for eligible employees following the birth of an employee's child or placement of a child with an employee in connection with adoption or foster care. So currently, there's no option for this. If someone either has a child or adopts a child, they can use their vacation or their sick leave for that, but there's no other leave available to them other than unpaid leave. To be eligible for this, the employee must be employed by the town for at least a year and have given birth to a child or be the committed spouse or partner or have adopted a child under the age of 17.
So is this whole section new?
Yes, section
Okay.
22, as I'm just reading the last paragraph. Okay.
Okay.
So this would provide for 4 weeks of pay, and then if the employee wanted to use other time, such as sick, vacation, or comp time, to stay out longer, they would have that option. Now, we're not required to offer this as we don't have 50 employees, but this is a benefit that is very common in local governments. So we're trying to make sure that we're being fair to our employees, taking care of people.
Any discussion, questions about this?
So they're gonna do it 4 weeks on top of their vacation already.
They would get their 4 weeks if they either had a child or adopted a child in their family.
So it would be added on top of what they already. So
Mhm.
you had 2 weeks of vacation.
Mhm.
If you got pregnant and had a child, you would then have 6 weeks vacation.
Up to
Yeah,
4 weeks of leave for the child, but you would still maintain your vacation.
But you could still get.
you could extend those.
They don't get FMLA.
We don't get.
Because we don't have enough employees.
So if they don't, want to do this, you know, they can take a vacation, and the rest of the time off.
What it said down here, it said to be eligible for the FMLA, the employee must be employed by the town for at least 12 months.
It's to be eligible for family leave. It's not FMLA.
FMLA is only businesses with 50 or more employees.
We're just calling it family leave as a family term, generically speaking, not specific to FMLA.
Everybody good with that?
Well, I guess I just need an explanation about if the employee wants to utilize personal time off,
Mm-hmm.
so an additional pay. So say I want to use 4 weeks of this family leave,
Mm-hmm.
and I also want to supplement with 2 weeks of vacation leave. So that's
Mhm.
just, I burn up that vacation leave during that 4 week period, but I get the supplemental pay. Is that what that's saying? Or
That's not the intent. I think this language might be left over from, we borrowed this from under disability. People are allowed to use their vacation. Disability is approximately 60% of weekly wages, if I'm not mistaken. So employees are able to use their sick time to supplement the other 40%, so they're still being paid their full wage. But that line should not be in there, because what that is saying is you basically get 2 weeks of extra pay on top of your regular pay, which is not the intention. So I think that was an oversight.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should. Mm-hmm. That's an option. We can. Right.
So we're making modifications to this section then, sounds like.
Yeah, I'm striking the line that, the end of line 1078 where it says employees can use time off, sick time, comp time, or other accrued leave to supplement a percentage of their pay for full-term parental leave. Really, it just needs to say that they can use their other time if they want to extend their personal leave
Okay.
in a situation where they're giving birth or adopting a child.
This isn't leaving it open to where if you don't take it, the town has to pay 4 weeks, is it?
Correct. It's not open down after that.
Anything else? Other modifications? Not, we'll move on.
Well, not so sure. I don't want to leave without, I guess, getting a consensus about what Shay mentioned about exhausting their vacation and sick before they utilize family leave.
They would limit the town's exposure in terms of its financial liability if you were to go that route. Because if someone does use the vacation time up first, then if they leave, they're not being paid out that vacation leave. Whereas if they immediately go on the family leave, then they can hang on to that vacation time, and if they decide to leave at the end of that time or any other time, the town would pay that out. So there's that benefit to it.
I mean, the family leave is a big bonus, or it's a big, you don't find that everywhere, is what
Right.
I'd say, especially in the public sector, maybe in the private sector. So I'd rather just dip our toe into the water and say, okay, it's available to you if you've exhausted all your other leave, rather than just give it to everybody on top of the leave they already have. Because
Okay.
that's the exception, not the rule. And there's not many places you can go work where they'll give you 4 weeks on top of any leave that you already have to be home with a newborn or adopted child.
Okay.
So if the consensus of the board is, I like Jeff's explanation that once you've exhausted all your other leave, then you're provided these 4 weeks pay. I'm simplifying.
Everybody okay with that? If it is, that's how we'll have him rewrite it, and then when we can be approved later.
Yeah, that's how I'd like to see it come back to us.
Okay. All right.
Okay, moving on to page 33, section 5 on line 1157, the use of social media at work. this is just a new section. We don't have any policies on the books right now about social media specifically. There is an internet usage policy, but this is directly related to employee use of social media while on the clock, that is for personal use, not for professional use, because we do maintain several social media pages. Just basically saying that you can't use town equipment for personal social media usage. And then if you post something on your personal page, you're not speaking on behalf of the town. The town's not responsible for anything that is posted on employees' personal pages, should they run afoul of any laws or anything like that.
Everybody good with that? Okay.
Section 8 is a new section on this page, line 1183, which is break time for nursing mothers. And this is just sort of putting in black and white that the town will provide a reasonable break time to accommodate nursing mothers. Showing our part to do what we can to help nursing mothers is basically what that is saying.
My question to that would be, would the mothers going to start bringing the babies to work?
No.
You just have to have, we're not,
Say that again now.
you just have to be able to let them accommodate something.
Ah, see, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Perfect sense. Perfect, perfect sense. Thank you. Thank you. I understand.
The next section is all new. The town does not have anything on the books right now regarding discipline. Well, I should rephrase that. We have very little on the books right now in terms of discipline. Sections. So the first new section in the disciplinary section of the policy is on section 4 on page 35, referral to employee assistance network. So one of the things that the employee assistance network, which is the group we mentioned earlier for counseling, one of the things that they offer to the town is counseling for like anger management, interpersonal conflicts. They will do some mediation, provide some guidance on that. So this would be a step in the disciplinary process where someone is given the opportunity to get some assistance dealing with whatever it is that they're dealing with that affects their performance with the town. I'm sorry, this entire section is new. I'm looking at the wrong copy of the manual. All right, I'm sorry. So I'm going to start over. Article 11, discipline on 1192 is brand new. This does not exist in the personnel manual right now, which fortunately has not been an issue for us because we don't have disciplinary problems outside of the occasional thing here and there, which is normal. But this basically outlines the disciplinary process for an employee, what failures of performance are, what failures of personal conduct mean. The employee assistance network I just mentioned, the suspension, administrative suspension, and then an employee appeal process has been added as well. An important component of your personnel policy, because if you do end up having to dismiss an employee, you want to make sure that you followed your policy, that you were fair to them, and crossed all your Ts and dotted all your Is, in case there's ever a lawsuit or something to that effect. And it's only fair to the employee if they know what the process is as well. This is a lot of text. Is there any specific questions about this?
Maybe warning number 1 is written. It's not verbal, then written. Like all warnings are written. It's like on the very first 1195 after consultation with the town manager, the department head shall provide the employee with a written notice.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So is that like saying that that's your first one? It's already written.
It does kind of read that way to me, but I don't think that we want it quite that formal to begin with. Seems like a verbal warning would be first.
As it goes for being defensible, if you're named in a civil suit about dismissing somebody, if it's not written, it didn't happen.
So basically it's saying it's a written thing that you both signed saying, I verbally warned you.
So, and to sort of, only because I've had to go through the process as a supervisor, basically you as a direct supervisor, you may say, you didn't come into work on time these 4 different times, but you have to document it each time. Then you have to like provide it in writing to the employee and say, your plan says you work from 9 to 5, and these are days you came in at 10:30 with no excuse, no call, and that type thing. And then basically, in a normal world that you'd provide that to them and say, this needs to be remedied, and then you go on. If it happens again, then you go into like almost a conference, and then that's where if you do have somebody and say you have these 6 instances where you've been failed to do this, and if it continues, you'll be grounded for dismissal, but you have to have like a conference, and you'll say you don't have to, but if you want to stand up in court, basically you got to have the person sign, said I've had this conference, I was presented with these 6 infractions, and a warning that if it doesn't happen, but like I said, it's a horrible thing to have to go through in terms of just the amount of paperwork. You have to document everything so that when you do say, you violated the plan, you violated the policy, manual, and you're dismissed, then like I said, when you go to court, you got to produce all this and where they were notified, had time to take corrective actions. You have to give them ample time, and so it's the nature of the beast. So it's awful reading, and it's cumbersome, and it's a big burden on the supervisor, or the director, or the town manager, because it's so much documentation. But you have to do it on the front end, because if you ever called into court and have to defend it, if you don't have things written out explicitly and acknowledgement by the employee that was dismissed, that they were made aware of these things and had these conferences and had ample time to take corrective measures, then they'll be put right back in your place of employment.
Daniel, I assume some of this was copied and pasted from other municipalities. Yeah.
That's the way to teach it in all the HR classes, though, what Jeff just said. You have to document everything.
Gotcha.
The backup, whatever.
Okay.
And right now, again, we don't have any of this stuff on the books. So, and there are rare instances where we have had to work through disciplinary actions. We've been following this. Basically, we're following the sort of the state format, even though it's not on our books. We're using that as best practices to document things. So, if you've got someone that is dismissed, then you've got a clear record showing it. So, this is formalizing everything that most of what we're already doing, which is what you need to be defensible.
Okay.
I know it's a lot to take in, so if you guys want to stew on it and let me know if you have any questions, we can
Right.
certainly do that.
On the referral assistance network, is it local or is it,
Nashville.
okay,
And they can also do Zoom meetings from
Okay.
They also have an office in Hendersonville
okay.
that they'll meet at. The last, oh, there's two last little bits that were added. The first one is on page 37 at the bottom, on line 1353, exit interview. This is the formal exit, last step as someone's leaving the organization. In order to collect anything that they were issued, cell phone, computer, keys, and then a letter outlining their sick time, which would be either transferred to a new employer or part of it submitted as part of retirement. It's a good best practice to have in an exit interview. Gives you a chance to debrief with the employee as well.
Gotcha.
And then the last thing in here is on page 40. This is under the grievance policy procedure of the document. Currently, the grievance process does not provide for a procedure if your grievance is with the town manager. So this on line 1406, the second sentence there, should the grievance be with the town manager, a designated town council member will serve as the supervisor in the below steps. So that takes it out of the manager's hands and hands it off to someone from the board to manage the grievance process. No, manager.
Any question about that? Hearing none?
And we have available, if you really want to see it, the marked up version of the plan that's got all the blue and red text. It's a little bit busy, so I chose not to present that to you today because I thought it would be confusing. So I just went through and highlighted the sections that were, like I said, that were new or significant changes. But if you want me to email this out to you, I'm happy to do that. And you can see literally every change that I made, every period, every carriage return.
I don't need it. I'm good.
It's kind of a lot to look at. All right, so we'll make some updates to this and get it back to you as soon as we can.
Okay.
All right. Next thing on our agenda is the budget. Fun stuff. All right, so we've got a budget to develop coming up this year. Your interim will carry you through that process. I'll do a good bit of the work leading up to in terms of putting all the numbers and charts together, but some things that you will need to consider in this upcoming budget. Personnel is going to be your most important one. There's actively one employee retiring right now, so we're working on his replacement. You have two employees who are going to be retiring in the next 12 to 15 months. And those positions will take some training and some overlap. You may remember in the current year budget, about this time last year, I had recommended that we go ahead and hire a full-time deputy tax collector to begin working under Orly to learn those skills. So what I will recommend to you in the budget that I prepared, and you can work through this with your interim manager, is upgrading. We have the administrative assistant position that's up front right now. That's currently a part-time role. We'd like to make that a full-time position. And then the idea being that person, that individual, work to replace Orly when Orly is retiring, which will be in 2025, is fair to say. So she'll have this budget cycle and this, billing cycle this fall, and then one more in 2025 to work with the replacement. And then it had been my plan to separate the finance and the clerk duties. As you know, Sue does both of those right now. In the budget, we have a position request pending that would create an assistant finance director position in this budget year to begin working with Sue. It wouldn't be funded for the full year. It'd be something that we would put in the budget for July's adoption and then look to fill that role next January. So halfway through your fiscal year, you'd get someone on board to begin working hand in hand with Sue to learn the books and try to transfer as much knowledge as possible in the last 20 years. And then you will need to either replace your existing collector or promote from within, and promoting from within is what we're planning for. Did I miss anything on personnel stuff that I need to mention?
I would just add that assistant finance director, we hope to start advertising in January, but reality might not even get hired till March. So it's nowhere near a full year.
While you got the microphone, Sue, how much time out of your work week is devoted just to the financial side of it?
Oh, right now, probably about 80%,
Okay.
maybe even more because Patty is taking on more and more and more of the clerk stuff. It's just the odd things that come up every once in a
Sure.
while.
Is there any time in there that potentially that finance person could also be slated as a human resource person as well? Is there any room in there for that?
Yes, there is, because part of my job is payroll, which means maintaining all the payroll records and
Okay.
adding new employees and running the payroll and
Insurance questions, so on and so forth, or does that get
I don't
directed?
do insurance now.
That's you. Okay. So that's,
That is the manager, but yeah, there's room there
okay.
to take that on. Yes.
And that would be my recommendation to you
Okay.
as a board moving forward. When you do look to replace Sue's position full-time, when you recruit that position, you try to find somebody with obviously finance experience, but someone who's worked in HR in some capacity in their career. Sue does all the technical side of payroll and the record keeping, things like insurance questions, benefit questions, enrollment, insurance renewals, disability claims, workman's comp, all that stuff comes through the manager's office right now.
Okay.
Which was fine up until a few years ago when the town staff really started to grow. It's 5 or 6 people, that's one thing, but we're up to 11 full-time now. And it's a significant portion of my time right now is working on that.
That's what I was thinking. That's where I was going with that. It just seemed like it'd be a good resource to have if we could fulfill it with one spot for now.
Mhm.
Get a few years out of that position.
It
It'd
would
be great.
a tremendous resource, and I really will strongly recommend that you find somebody with those skills, with the HR skill set, because while I'm capable of doing some of it, it's not my area of expertise, and staff deserves someone they can go to and ask specific questions about HR and not have to wait for me to contact 3 or 4 other people to get an answer for them.
Gotcha.
Well, Daniel, in your opinion, what would be the natural evolution for this staff if, as it grows, would it be an assistant town manager, or would it be like an administrative officer that would, which would better serve the town, because the person that would maybe do all the HR stuff, all the insurance stuff, and maybe do some of the payroll and some of that, take that off the finance director. But do you see that being an assistant county manager? Town manager, or would it be like some sort of administrative officer?
Yeah, I had always planned for it to be an assistant town manager position, someone who can have all the responsibilities you mentioned, but then also be a second person for staff to go to when they have decisions that need to be made and the manager's not available. I think that's what's fair to the staff, and that's what's most efficient for the organization, in my opinion. Any other thing on personnel that we've talked about the last few weeks?
Is-
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Go for it.
What about FMLA? Does that usually fall under a person who's not in the chain of command of the employee?
We actually are
So that-
subject to FMLA, so
Oh, you're not?
no,
Okay.
we don't have enough employees.
Okay, my bad. My municipal experience is a little bit more than 50 employees, so
Yeah.
just a bit.
But the,
One other question I had, sorry to interrupt. Well, gosh, it just left me. Oh, it was about the possibility of changing the part-time to a full-time.
mhm.
I guess if Kristen was interested, if she still has to go out and apply for it just as like anybody else, there's no opportunity. If the position gets changed, it has to be advertised and.
It doesn't have to be advertised, no.
Okay.
It very well could be, and she could certainly apply for it, but you don't have to advertise for it, technically speaking.
All right, I'm sorry about interrupting.
That's all right. I was just gonna kind of touch on Jeff's point about FMLA. In a perfect world, you'd have someone with that experience, so that even though we're not subject to that, the very specific detailed HR questions that come up in that world, it's great to have somebody with that experience in that position.
Not in the chain of command.
Right, exactly.
Okay, everybody good with that?
All right, the next thing that you need to be aware of in your operational budget next year is the mortgage payment for the property that the town bought this current fiscal year. You may remember that the payment budget amount for this year only accounted for 10 months of payment because we closed on the property in August, so the payment wasn't due until September. So we didn't pay July or August. So that's an additional $50,000 that will need to be accounted for in this upcoming budget. It's not a make or break thing, but it is an additional $50,000 to be aware of. And then the last big thing that I could think of offhand for today's discussion is the audit contract. We did get 3 responses back for that, and they weren't as high, excuse me, as I was anticipating. They're higher than Carl's numbers.
So catch me up on that. What happened with this?
Carl is retiring from municipal work.
Okay.
The low was around 20. What was the range for the responses?
And this is coming to you on your next agenda. The low was around 27,000. But then the high comes out to about 30.
We were paying Carl right around 20.
We paid him 20,000 last year. But Carl always said he was doing additional work without charging us for it because of his long-term relationship.
On the mortgage payment, when does it start going down because we're doing that?
Every month, basically, it goes down a little bit.
So it's going up, it's going down monthly, but because of the added 2 months.
Yes.
It goes up.
Yes, yes.
So then what's the next year, we'll actually see a decrease.
Slight
Yes.
decrease from interest off of the principal paid down. Yes.
What was the name of that?
Oh, what's that?
Gable principal.
Level principal,
principal.
level principal payments. And that was courtesy of the North Carolina Treasurer's Office. Found out the week before we were
Had to
getting ready to get all this stuff done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What was I going to say about the payment?
In theory, in 5 to 10 years, it will be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It forced us to do it, and it will.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, this is what I was going to say, was we had talked about with that waiver for the Part F grant, if the town secures that grant, it's $500,000, and we want to put that towards that loan, then that loan will be re-amortized, because that's a significant principal payment you can make. So that would lower that as well.
Was 100,000 what triggered the re-amortization of that?
Yes.
Same time there's a lump sum.
Mm-hmm. Any idea? No.
I don't know the dollar amount, but we've made 7 or 8 payments only. So it's not significant what's gone down. I mean, I have an amortization schedule. It's not something I look at.
Did the money from that, when we borrowed 7 million out straight?
If you want to look at it as, I don't remember all the numbers, but say we bought the land for 7 million, but by swapping, we basically got a credit for 2.5 million, or actually it was less than that because the loan was 4 point something. Yes.
And then we had already put 500,000 in our fund aside, towards that payment. Was that a one-time payment, or had they used that to make the payment?
Kind of. That was essentially not a down payment, but it was factored in as part of the overall price for the property. We factored in that, was it 1.5, I think we did.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
we
Some of the money just went to closing because we had to take cash to closing. And that was $1 million. And then there is still 500,000 of that ARPA money that's earmarked for land preservation. And we only got 2.3 million.
The original loan was for $2.4 million at 5% interest. And this year, we paid approximately, so it would have been 137, right? Yeah, 175,000 approximately. Yeah. So, James, to your question, the payment this year is for the full payment this year is $252,000. And then, you know where the full amortization schedule is?
Yeah, it's one of my folders. Let me get to it. Well, is that,
That was just the invoice for his last payment.
or we can go to the minutes where the contract was adopted, but, yeah, go to clerk finance. And then there should be something on the LGC loan info.
Loan info, LGC.
Yeah, try that.
So while they're looking at that, can I speak to you as staff, and let you know the importance of taking the deputy tax collector position full-time? I feel like we need the position full-time right now. I mean, we are staying that busy. And I think it's very important for Kristen to have the opportunity to train under Arlene. I know it's been a blessing for me to have that time to do on-the-job training for the clerk position. And I would like for the deputy tax collector to have that luxury of being able to train under someone that does the job now.
Yeah, and does the job very well, I should say. Yeah.
Since we split the tax collector position off of the town clerk position.
But it's been over 10 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
this was my 11th tax cycle this year.
I think so. And I will just put my 2 cents in that having Kristen really has allowed Patty to truly take on the clerk duties. There's still some things we're training for that just got set aside because we just didn't have time, with Patty covering the front and us trying to cover for her while she's trying to do things. And it's been fantastic. And I can't tell you how many days a week one of us says, "What time does Kristen come in?" She doesn't come in until 1, and we're a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So hopefully she has, I think she has the interest, and she certainly has the ability to learn that position.
So from a staff level, do y'all feel like if she was full-time and she dedicated 4 hours to the front desk now and then 4 to deputy tax collecting to learn it, would that be enough? If started sooner than later?
You're looking at me, I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say I would really like Orly to answer that.
At this point, probably 6 and 2.
Okay,
And when we start with the new fiscal year, then it would be more like 4 and 4.
okay,
There are some really complicated things that you only do once a year.
okay,
If you don't go through at least 2 years, you're going to be lost.
I gotcha.
Yeah. We're wrapping up at this point. She has the desire. She certainly has the aptitude.
Okay,
You gotta have this is true. And she comes from retail. And retail people take, in my opinion, more abuse than tax collectors do.
okay,
Okay. Can you guys see the spreadsheet on your monitor down there?
yeah,
So this is our current fiscal year, FY '24. This is what we're paying for the entire fiscal year. And then you'll notice for next year, your payment is going up by, 42,000 or whatever. But then in the next year, it starts to drop back down. You're getting your full 12 months and it's being reduced every month. So 285, 276, 266. So each month it goes down just a little bit. They paid 7 payments, $177,000. Any other
Okay.
questions on that one?
no, I'm good. Anybody else?
You're welcome. We talked about audit contract. Capital needs, maintenance, I left in here from last year's discussion because as we expand the park, of course, that's something to keep in mind. And I know that you're juggling a lot of priorities with getting that land available to the public, and an ag lease and trying to figure out what to do with it, infrastructure plans. Meanwhile, we have a maintenance facility that is busting at the seams. And while we have the barn over there for temporary usage, one of the things that we'd like to do at some point in the not too distant future is get a new maintenance facility built over on the Lucky's properties that was purchased a year or two ago. So I don't know if that's going to be in your capital budget request this year from staff, but it is something to keep in mind in addition to getting access to that property. Your maintenance needs are going to grow just as quickly as your public's desire to get over there. Mike touched on the UDO this morning. I'll just remind you that's been in the capital improvement plan for a few years now, and we've got it scheduled to run over 2 fiscal years. And the full $200,000 is what we're expecting to spend on it, which is right in line with other projects I've seen of that scale. And Mike will have a full report on that at your meeting next week. We've talked a lot about park expansion, so I won't really spend a whole lot of time on this, but infrastructure obviously is a big one. One of the things that Nicole and I talked about for this upcoming year is setting aside some amount of funding to get someone and actually do the actual engineering as far as what we would need for the roads and utilities and things of that nature, so that those quantities are known, the locations are known, and then you can really start parsing out which thing that makes the most sense to do first and get funding set up for that. This shouldn't be an issue, but it is something to keep in mind that with utilities for a Part F grant, those have to be all underground. So again, everything's already underground here, so it really shouldn't be a big deal, but like the line coming down, that might have to be buried at some point. Certainly on the new property, all those lines have to be buried. The playground project, they have started on that. They've gotten the survey complete, and I think Tom Jones is working on the design with Nicole, but that'll be a carryover. There is a timeline on that because it's a Part F grant, but we're not at any risk to not getting it completed in time. And I'll let Nicole talk about this the next time she sees you all, but security for the building, for the whole park really, it's sort of been piecemealed over the last few years. we updated all of the cameras a few years ago, which is how we get those vehicle counts that is in your weekly report. We have very good coverage over the park. Everything is wireless right now, which really is not the best solution. Hardwired is the best. We're still working off of old hardware, so we have like an old DVR like you'd have to record, any other video. All the systems now are going to cloud-based platforms, which would be more reliable, more stable than what we currently have. And then this building, we've got keypads that we have at all the doors, and we've had constant issues with the lock up front, which is why we don't use the keypad anymore. So I'm not sure how much work she's put into that in terms of getting numbers together, but that is something that if it's not in your capital budget this year, you probably need to think pretty seriously about next year to get all that stuff up to snuff. Because crime does occur. We've helped the sheriff's deputies quite a few times with incidents in the park, but there are some blind spots that we don't cover right now with the cameras. And then a truck and trailer. Nicole has specifically asked me about a truck. I threw in the trailer because I'm sure you guys have seen some of the work that they do over there. They end up hauling stuff to the landfill, and it takes them 37 trips. So a full-size truck, I think, would be a great benefit to them.
Like getting rid of the Ranger?
I think you just keep it. Yeah.
What about the tractor? Is all our tractor stuff up to speed for the extra stuff we're gonna pick up along the edges here? We're big enough stuff, we got part in farm ag, probably need to ask Nicole to bring it to the budget if she's good on it, or if we need something else.
That's right. We did talk about an actual new tractor, right? Isn't that something we talked
A
about?
larger one, yes. Yeah.
I don't know, but I'll make sure that she is prepared for that.
And the long width. Yeah.
Yeah, it took us a year to get a golf cart. So things are, hopefully that supply chain issue's been resolved.
We did just get a bigger mower.
Mower, yeah. Yeah.
We did.
Which was the intent of that was for that spot that got graded in the middle of the meadow.
Yeah. And it might be fine for what's left. I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Like the ditches and all that. Yeah, Jason's been doing that for several years.
And it would probably be better to keep doing that because that's a different animal. The employee that would do that would need some training for sure.
That's all that I had listed. We had most of this conversation this morning, so I'm happy to talk about the park plan more if you'd like. Or we can continue on to brainstorming. I've not spoken to many of you about the upcoming budget. Jeff and I spent a few minutes talking about it at our last monthly meeting. And one of the things that came out of that discussion was setting up a funding stream or a program that citizens could tap into. And Jeff, please correct me if I misspeak here, for log jams in the river, so that those don't become more of an issue than they are when they initially occur. At some point, establishing some legitimate welcome signs. We do have some welcome signs on the main corridors, but designing something that when you see it, you're in Mills River. And then something that has been on my mind for some time now is town hall improvements, and that's kind of tied to the grant project, the park project. But that needs to be moving along a little bit quicker than what that park project will be, mostly because we just don't have any space, and you need a few more staff members. And we have Patty working on a supply closet right now, which is turning into a very nice office, but at the end of the day, it's still a supply closet. Yeah. So I would encourage you to hire an architect, designer of some kind to look at the building as is and look for some maybe medium-term solutions to creating more space in here so that you do have room for future staff to have offices.
Are you talking about underneath the existing roof structure we have now?
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's the storage room that we have in there, and it's not really conditioned space. And if that could be finished, you could put a couple of offices back there, I think. And have to find someplace to store all that stuff.
Where's everything out?
Over Yeah,
The barn.
but I think, because we don't want to do anything in this room because it's used a lot by parks programming, but also by the library. And then we don't want to cannibalize anything that's being useful right now. The storage room is obviously being used for storage, but it could be better utilized, I think, for workspace for people. So this is your discussion now. I'm done talking. You
Yeah.
tell me what you want me to put in the budget before I leave, and I'll put it in there.
Mr. Moore, could you take me back to the park plan, please, and scroll down to the exit only section?
Yeah. Let me pull up the PDF so we can.
So right in there,
Yes, sir.
we potentially have enough room, we think, to get one lane out. Would you have the ability to look at this on a regular plat and tell me how much room I would have to go talk to the potential owner of that pie-shaped corner to see if I could just get enough to get us a double lane out of there?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
You can tell
Yes,
me,
sir.
get me.
Now, are you wanting a full access there, or right in, right out, or?
Well,
I think eventually it's going to have to be right in, right out.
yeah.
I don't know that the DOT is going to want full access with that. You could possibly have left in. I don't know that you're going to get left out there.
Yeah, it's going, without a traffic signal, I'd say you're exactly right.
Left in's not as bad. It's easier to turn left
Yeah,
across
you'll have
traffic than it
you'll have a
is
place of
to
safety.
turn left out, then across traffic to
Yeah.
go to the left.
Give me a little. I just need to know how much room I have so I could approach him
Sure,
about
I'll be
possibly
glad
getting
to.
just that while we're in this process. It just don't make sense to me to make that an exit only if there's any way around it. And if we do exit only now, it's going to cost us just as much to make it in and out later, when it'll cost
I
just a
agree.
little bit more now.
And maybe having it a right in, right out will allow us, I wonder if Powell bill versus a one-way,
Gotcha.
that opens up some Powell bill funding,
Awesome.
which helps with maintenance. And then I remember our meeting we had to talk about Hooper Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that could be a possibility as part of this, is to get some pavement down there? I don't think we want to, if it wasn't for the bridge, I would recommend that we take that into
Yeah.
our system. But DOT's pretty happy to get, even though it's a new bridge,
Yeah.
at some point in time, it's not going to be new anymore.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's going to have. How do they handle that if we took it over and we got more log jams against it? It'd be our responsibility.
It'd be
correct?
our responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we don't know how to fix this.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
So yeah.
All right. Thanks.
What else y'all got?
Just to follow up on that, because as I understand it, the right of way and most of the road, it's going to almost come up to that bright green line, that boundary line.
Yes.
So if the town tries to go in negotiations with that property owner, what we're looking for a right of way, I mean, it would be like half the size of this room or less. That's
Exactly.
a
It's my.
postage stamp.
Yeah. It's a very small piece of
I
property.
don't think it would devalue that property, if it was mine and town approached me. But what we'd be asking for is pretty minuscule, and obviously we'd compensate, but it seems a shame not to make a run at it, like you
To
said,
try.
and try to at least get two-way traffic. And and Powell bill funding, because it's such a small impact on that track.
Yes, sir. I would ask for full access. Go in there, say, we want full access here. This is vital. It really is going to keep traffic out of the main area. It's going to really help. And if they say, no, you can't have full access, then, well, being able to turn left into there and then right in, even if you can only turn right out, that's
Okay.
better than nothing.
So we would draw something up, take it to DOT for their blessing.
Yes.
Then we could approach property owner.
We might even be able to just go sit down with DOT and they could sketch it up for us.
Oh, okay.
Because
They've got a lot of info already on this
they've got a
property.
lot of info. We could have, at the very least, we could get something that we could overlay
Let's see.
what we want to do on.
Gotcha.
Does DOT have to give you blessing if it's full or right in, right out?
It's a great question. Yes, sir, they do. They control the access, and with this road being widened as it is, then they're going to be really touchy about access, unless that. But then again, I think we can support it based on the amount of traffic that's coming into the park
Right.
and into town hall. I think we've got a good case to make, but
So we would even have to ask for permission for exit only.
Oh, absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
even though there's I think there's access there of some sort, or there's something, still they have to, even if there's a curb cut, you still have to have permission to develop that, to make that. It's not going to be that hard. I mean, we are a municipality, so we're our partners. We have
Right.
the same customers, basically.
Exactly.
So it's that, but there is a formality involved.
Right.
And to make sure that it meets their standards.
Just now we have traffic counts because of the security and
Yeah. Yeah.
we're not spitballing, we're actually know.
Right. What else y'all got?
Well, since I'm sitting in Randy's seat,
Yes.
I really would like to make a best attempt that we can as a council to try to identify a regular revenue stream to go in farmland preservation. We've got that seed money from rescue plan, but
An annual budgeted number to plug in it.
right, whether it's a percentage of some funding source or whether it's a just flat dollar amount, but I think we need to have reoccurring, and we're just starting out, so I don't know what that number is, but I just,
Daniel, what do we do with the ABC money we get now? Don't we have it we use it for something, right? That
We
I mean, it goes in general, but and before in budget visioning, we've heard that this right here is pretty much could be paid for with the ABC money. What's that number? I guess I'm trying to say.
$30,000 is the amount of revenue, but last year I had discussed, because a few years ago, when the nonprofit started coming, the requests we were getting were, in total, $10,000-12,000, something like that. But over time, they have grown to, last year, we had over $100,000 in requests. And Randy and I talked a lot about one-on-one, trying to identify a revenue stream or a dollar amount that we could use and just say that this is what we have each year for nonprofits. And so the best I could come up with at that time was the ABC revenue, because it was a very stable source of income. And it's been around 30,000, 31,000 for over a decade. So we don't use it for anything in particular now. We had talked about using it for the nonprofits last year, but it just rolls into general revenue right now. But that could very well be the seed money.
I just think it would be a good way of transition. It would be a clean
Yeah.
revenue stream. It is what it is,
Right.
not inflated, not anything. It's just, I just thought that would be one good way of doing it.
like the beggars can't be choosers, so,
And if you think that's not enough, then we need to speak up now before, because if that's the way we're headed, he could sure help Shannon get that plugged in.
I just don't have a sense, we have
Right.
$500,000 sitting in that program and, now I understand the commissioners have formed not a task force, whatever it is, but farmland preservation. So the county may get a program, so, we may have their opportunity to utilize those funds in the river. But in the meantime, I just think we need to go ahead and have that marker on our budget every year, and 30,000 would be a start. And, you know, if we get where we can utilize these funds to preserve some farmland in Milk River, then we might say, well, we've got to double,
Jump it.
triple, we got to really step up our game. But I just didn't want to take that rescue plan money, put it in there, and then spike the football and say, you know, we're done. We've done, you know, we've
Right.
addressed farmland preservation. I just think it's going to be, it's been shown to be important to the residents. So I think we need to take the time now while the economy is strong, our revenues are strong, and identify that money and go ahead and commit it and not take it for something else.
Okay. I'm with you. With you.
Like the $30,000, it does seem low, but that we also, we haven't even opened to applicants yet, so give us a year to see how crazy we need to go with this.
Yeah.
You know, how many people are applied? Wouldn't you say in a year, we should have it open, right?
For applicant.
Accept applications and then we can see.
Yeah.
In its current form, you know, we're just playing a supporting role. We're helping them pay for those other things, surveys, legal work. So it shouldn't deplete, you know, even if they identified a farm in Mills River that was going to receive state and or federal monies, and we, you know, made our funds fully available. I don't know that they would be gobbled up with the first tract of land because we can't, as a town, buy conservation easements. So yeah, I think 30,000 would be, you know, place to start. I have no idea.
So as far as budgeting goes, for him to plug in, or
I'll just use the ABC revenue.
there you
Yeah.
go. I mean, I just like it. I think it's clean and it's not that much money, but it is a start.
More we
It can
drink,
be
the prettier.
changed either way, up or down in future councils or whoever.
Yeah, you say it's steady, but is it not based off of how much goods is created?
So it's
Not exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of a simplistic way to look at it, yes, but you're right. But it has to do with sales. But you have to remember that they're everywhere in the state that sells gets a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And as dry counties open up,
It
they
takes,
get a bigger piece of the pie.
yeah.
So in the almost 20 years we've been in the program, our revenues have increased $3,000.
Oh, so it's fairly stable.
It's pretty
Yeah.
stable, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always build your own ABC store, and then you'd have some,
Yeah, we,
more you drink, more money the town gets.
yeah. We
That's what our
have,
finance director had said.
That's true.
yeah,
And on the revenues, we're down, he'd say, go buy some liquor.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what else we got? Anything we can throw it on the table right now would be a great help.
Yeah,
In the
again, this
weeks
isn't
to
your only
come.
this isn't the only opportunity. I'm looking for anything that is just in the back of your mind that you want to throw out that I can program into the spreadsheet, or I can make a list for Shannon when he comes on board that he can kind of.
Keep following up on it. Yeah. Get us a number. Yeah.
April 25th, I believe.
So speaking of nonprofits, so what do you suggest we do with the nonprofit requests we have now
Mm-hmm.
and the money that, what was it, $100,000 that we had set aside for that?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to, don't we need to go ahead and fulfill that obligation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I need to go back to the applications. We had presented several to you, and then there were questions about, I think it was the community center, the farm market, and there was one other group I think you guys had questions for. And everyone you had questions for did follow up with me. And so I need to get you that information so that you guys can make a final decision.
But we can't spend that money elsewhere.
You could. I
I
mean,
mean,
all of the money that was, can you pass out that spreadsheet you made, please? All of the money that we had received through,
No, this was,
all the money that we had received from the federal government has been through the cycle, and it is now no strings
revenue
attached.
replacement.
thanks.
Yeah, well, no, it's not really revenue replacement.
Right.
It is all your dollars and where they're
We
spent and
earmarked it.
committed. And
$100,000 then that they had talked about. We formed a committee, me and Jeff was on the committee, and there was
Yes.
several groups came. And
For some reason, I thought you guys had narrowed it down as a group to like 2 or 3 of the largest.
Well,
They did.
Correct.
Well-
That's this 100 grand. That's what I'm saying. We have to spend it on something that's in that group.
Not necessarily.
Legally,
No.
you're
The
not obligated to
problem,
that legally.
and the problem was, is remember we had one applicant didn't realize it had to be emailed in or something and personally delivered it. Then we had another good candidate come up just the day after or whatever and present theirs. And then we had one gentleman come in and give a spiel, remember, on the van for that. We had all kind of issues happen with it, and we ended up with some other good resources we could put some money toward, but so we just backed up for a while.
Mhm,
We just never have been able to get back to it.
mhm,
So we need to make sure that Shannon's on board with helping us get through that,
mhm.
and let's get that taken care of. And
I was gonna say, if I could make one comment about the spreadsheet, just at the bottom,
mm-hmm.
you're remaining uncommitted. 2 lines above it, you say interest earned on your ARPA money. I made an assumption you would want to roll that back in some way commit it,
Mm-hmm.
but that interest does not have to be spent the same way as the ARPA funds. It could just go to your fund balance.
Okay.
But it is available. It's funds that are available that were not earmarked for something else.
Okay.
Good.
But that 58 is it in the 98,000 number? No, it is not.
Yes.
It is in the 98 number.
It is in the, yes.
Okay. I got you. That's where you said you made the assumption that's what we would do. That makes perfect sense. I'm with you.
So just in summary, after all of your obligations, including what you've committed to the farm market for the next few years, including the money you've committed to nonprofits but haven't awarded yet,
Yes.
and then the 500,000 farmland preservation, your bottom line dollar figure that you can do with what you please is that $98,956.97.
Okay. That helps.
Sorry.
Anything else we can think of?
Before we convened today, I had the farm market on my mind, and then now it's kind of got rolled into the park, and I just don't want to get lost in the park. So I really want to come out of this budget cycle with a plan. Not to say that has to happen in the next 12 months or 2 years, but a plan of when we'll have a place to host the farm market on this property, and a plan of how to get there. And so it may be a discussion when we have the park director here too, and more information, but I just wanted to at least express my hope to this council that I really want the farm market, like I said, a plan moving forward by the time we get to June 30th of, that it looks like we'll actually be, erecting something in, 25, 26 or whatever it is, but I really think we need to address that because it's something that I think we've committed to this town and to agriculture in general, that that we support the market, and then we're going to step up and try to find a permanent home for them. And now that the existing dairy is not going to be viable, I think we need to have a game plan.
Okay. Yeah. As long as Tristan takes all that back to the committee and hustles that up, I think that can happen sooner than later. And if it's going to happen, as long as I don't have a problem with it, as long as we can definitely make it a multi-use facility.
No, that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah, if not, to me it feels like I'm just outright supporting a nonprofit way more than I am any others. And I just don't know if from a public ethical standpoint that's the way I should be. So if we can make it make sense from a recreational standpoint, 90% of the time, I'm good with it. But just a standalone farmer's market, I don't think I could ever support that on town property if that's all it was for.
Even being agriculture though.
Yeah, because I don't know that that's, I don't, I didn't, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I know they don't. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Well, it's for the whole county. And what I looked at before was the building down there was the perfect size for a building for the whole county.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree with every bit of that. I agree with that.
Oh, and I'll circle back around something the town manager brought up, and I had told him a one-on-one, but especially in the wake of some recent storms we've had here. It's not a new concept, I'm just plagiarizing or imitating, but Transylvania County, their commissioners put, currently it's like $25,000 a year, but it goes into a fund, the county, and they actually use their soil and water department to administer the funds, but it's to keep the French Broad, since it's the most commonly used for kayaking, rafting, tubing, and also for flood control. But any resident or property owner along the French Broad, and they may use it on tributaries too, but has a tree that's either about to fall in and take half the bank with it, or it's already fallen in, because one, it's a safety hazard for people floating the river and getting trapped underneath debris, and then it's a water quality issue because when the tree does fall in, blocks the river, it just goes around and takes out somebody's field or somebody's property. And so it seemed like since so much of our town has the Mills River passing through it, that I think it would be a low cost investment. It's the old, prevention versus cure and the cost. And I did talk, I brought it to the attention of Maria Wise, who's the director of the partnership, and I just said, well, that's something, if we had something like that, would it be something your organization would administer? And if so, I said, think about what you would have to take in the way of administration. It would be 10% of the amount that we put in it, but anyway, I wanted to float that idea. I bounced it off of Daniel first, but wanted to bring it to the council, say, I'm not saying it has to be $25,000, but I just think, if we already support the partnership in all their endeavors that they do within town limits, but this would be specially identified money just for debris removal, log jam, and tree removal. And like I said, it's open to anybody that's in the town of Mills River that has a concern, and then we would direct those funds to, at least that's what we're proposing, that we direct them to the partnership, and then they would locate a contractor, initiate the work, and then pay them out. But it'd just be something that they could go to. The Transylvania's been doing it since 2011.
Do they ever run out of funds up there at times?
They have.
Okay.
And then it also, I think, accrues sometimes where they just don't have a lot of big rain events.
So it
Not a
gets
lot
caught. Okay.
But I think the rafting companies and stuff, I think they really kind of urged county leaders to identify some money just for the public good, because it touches on 2 or 3 different things, public safety, water quality, recreation, tourism, that type of thing. So
Gotcha.
I just thought that would be something that we should consider too, because as the town's property owner along the river, you see what problems it causes, and when it piles up at the bridge and everything else. And if we could spend $1,500 taking out a tree, rather than spending $15,000 taking out 40.
Everything it took with it when it goes.
Plus the damage that resulted, that'd be worth doing. So it's not a big ticket item. I'm happy for that, but I just wanted to.
And Daniel, you're aware, he said he's talked to you about it, so run it by Shannon so he can present.
I think as long as the partnership is on board for the administration, that it would be a seamless project. That's my only reservation is we wouldn't, I don't think you'd be able to do it in-house, but if the
Yeah, I
partnership.
wouldn't want to put that on the staff.
Yeah, if the partnership's willing to.
Like I said, I just talked to staff at the partnership. She would have to carry that, elevate it to her board, see if it's something they want to take on.
I see.
And have some pushback on it.
Okay.
I think, I'm on the building report, or actually their treasurer.
Okay.
And we have, but it has to be, the tree has to be down where, yeah, the town could say that it's about to fall down, and then you could, and yes, they run out of money for it every year.
Sure. Okay.
I think there's 2 log jams right below the park right now that are active and unfunded.
Gotcha.
The only rub, I think, would be the partnership is like the Mills River Watershed, which there are some areas that are not in the town, like right below the park. It'd have to be, the town funded it, it'd have to be in the town.
I see.
Yeah, I think they're already doing that to some extent with the revenue that this council provides them, and that they earmark, if we give them $20,000, I think they earmark it only
Or in
within
the
town
town, yeah.
boundaries. They use their other funds for Mills River outside.
I'm just saying like what's jammed up right now, doesn't really compensate.
So maybe we need you to help us get what it actually costs to remove a typical log jam versus a medium versus a large log jam, so we could actually think about what, if we was going to budget, what we would budget.
Marinas, all that.
Okay, that'd be perfect. Yeah. If we're actually going to,
You know some,
What costs?
not well, how much time it takes to pull them out.
Yeah.
well,
I
I
don't
just,
think it's never been like, yeah, big ticket items. It's a lot of little.
that's what I figured. I just don't want to earmark $6,000-7,000 and that don't even get the first log jam out of the river. That don't really help. And why fool with it if it's not really making a big difference? So,
But yeah, I'm going based on our neighbor's experience, and if they're doing 25,000, French Broad's a whole lot longer. Transylvania County's a whole lot bigger than we are. It's meeting their needs most of the time, and I don't think they've changed that funding level in a long time at all.
Okay.
So maybe if we do something, 10,000, or I don't know,
I got you.
some half the size, I think maybe that'll go a long way towards.
Do you think they would have numbers over the past few years of just what they did inside the town of Mills River? Probably. That would be great to have. We could really close in on what the need really is.
I know that it's less than $25,000 because there was a grant for it. We haven't been able to spend it
In
this fiscal year yet.
Okay. Okay.
I can,
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing none. Daniel, staff, anybody? No?
Everything I wanted to cover.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if we have nothing else. We got,
Just one question, and that is, this is probably our last formal budget discussion with Daniel.
yes,
Take up these items again, it'll be with the interim.
yes, exactly. That's why I was stressing to get as much out today as we could.
I'm not gonna turn my phone off when I leave, so I'll be available for questions.
You say that now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's April 15th.
Okay. All right, entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Sandra, second. Shay, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none.
Jeff, you speaking from